Okay. Let me pick up something from what broke about like an hour or so ago. Remember, we wanted to invoke a macro using invoke macro, and the macro to be invoked is a set variable.
Yeah, I remember that.
The problem with the code I wrote a moment ago was I plugged in the value 30. But actually, this macro prescribes, okay, I have to plug in only variable names. Do you follow?
Oh, okay, okay.
So I cannot plug in 30 directly. I have to assign it to a variable and then plug in the variable name.
Oh,
Now it
okay.
works. So read the code carefully, okay? I set the parameter, okay, to be like the variable you want to use. And I also like plug in the variable that I use to like assign with a value.
Right.
And then I invoke, okay, the macro to assign whatever value stored in this variable to this variable.
Oh, so they have to
And
be
I print
variable.
out the first variable, okay? So this will show me 30.
Okay.
I can do it here. But if I like change the value from 30 to a string, for example, okay? So hello, let's say. And I expect to see hello instead.
Um,
Okay. Now remember, I output labradoodle, not my var.
right.
But labradoodle is actually created and assigned with a value. There's no $sign labradoodle above this line.
So, so variables can't. They have to start with a letter.
Variables, yes.
That's why it threw an error because the number 3
Yep.
it was
Because
trying
I
to
will
make.
in the code I will attach the $sign before it.
Oh, okay, right, right.
That's why you have like $10, and it won't make sense to velocity.
Okay,
That's why it's red,
okay.
and it keeps complaining about the 10.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Okay, actually, this is a good point for my next topic because you now should realize, okay, what I did wrong and what I did right now. Well, I'm supposed to insert a variable name, but instead I insert a value.
Hmm.
So in my library, I have some restrictions in various contexts. Okay, here you must insert a variable, here you must insert a value, and so on and so forth. But then it can be a hassle if you like need to exactly remember what is what. Of course, I mean the signature, okay, of the I'm talking about the first line of a macro will tell you, okay, exactly what you're supposed to like to insert. But the problem is, I mean, sometimes I expect a name, sometimes I expect a value. And imagine how you deal with that, okay? Just keep that in mind.
Hmm.
Okay, next, I want to blur the boundaries between blocks and formats. So a format can act like a block, and a block can act like a format.
Okay.
Well, it's very easy to see. For example, if you have a format, okay, that can produce content, it acts like a block. So you can put static markup in a format. You can actually put an entire page in a format,
Right,
right?
right.
And then you put the format into a region, okay? Let's say you still have regions. You put the page content, okay, in the format, and then you attach the format into a page region. Then that region will display the page content.
Right.
So a format can really act like a block.
Yes, yes, yes.
Of course, we are not talking about transformation here, okay? You are not transforming anything because there's no source to transform. You only like put in the static content, okay?
Okay.
Now, there's another way to like to create content without like hard coding all the static content inside. You can use dynamic content, right?
Okay.
So, for example, okay, I have a site called database test. This site hasn't been converted yet, and I don't care to, because this is about like querying the database of Cascade.
Right. Okay.
So a page like this, okay. Ignore the first two lines. I'm just printing out something. Well, let me bring up another page, a better page. It's supposed to be here. Yeah, okay. This is the result, okay. I am actually reading the asset factory table in Cascade and display the number of records here.
Okay.
So the number of records in this table is 1,767.
That's how many asset factories you have?
Records.
Records. Okay.
Yep. So let me just edit the page and bring up the format, okay. In a page region called bottom, okay, I have a format. No block, okay, just the format.
Right.
And this format does something simple. So basically, I connect to the database, and then here, okay, I just said count how many records in this table, and display the result. That's all.
Oh cow! I didn't know you could do that.
Why not? You can talk to the database, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let me remember this path, okay, of the format. Now let's say back to my site, okay, Cascade admin. Well, let me just like put the path somewhere, okay, so that I can come back later. Now back in my site, Cascade admin. Let's say I want to display the same content on this page. Okay, what you saw a moment ago, 1767.
Okay.
But the problem is, okay, it's a format.
Okay.
And I don't have any regions, okay? Let's pretend, okay, this page doesn't have other regions. Of course it does, okay, because it's still hooked up with an older version of the content type. So there are still regions, for example, bottom. Okay. So let's pretend, okay, I only have block choosers. I don't have regions to work with. So I'm supposed to plug in something somewhere here. Okay. But I wanted to display the same content, okay, 1677, or something like that, 1767, okay, using that format. Well, how do I do that? By the way, in Cascade, this is called a widget. A widget is a velocity script that can dynamically display something probably drawn from the database, and they are supposed to like be deployed on the dashboard like these. These are called widgets.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you can actually right now it's still not like opened, but later on in the later version of Cascade, they might open up widgets so that we can like craft our own widgets and then display them on the dashboard.
Gotcha.
But I'm saying I can display a widget on a page. Why not?
Okay.
For example, you can like read audit information or broken link report, broken link reports, and you display it on a page and send it to managers. Okay, fix these pages, please. Okay. Something like that. And basically, you see like page name, page path, and then links, and so on. You click, okay, you go to that page and fix the links, and something like that. Of course, you can do it like on the dashboard, but you should be able to do it like on the page. Okay. Especially that page can be published, and then you can like use the browser to access the backend.
Right. I agree. Totally agree.
Right. So the question is, I mean, we don't have regions. How do we like display something which is called a widget on a page?
Using evaluate?
Sure. You got it. But before that, we need to come to script blocks. And script block will invoke evaluate.
Wait. There are no such things as script blocks, though.
I'm making it up.
Actually, I like the name.
My own invention.
I like it.
Okay, let me show you a script block, okay? A script block look like, of course it must be a block, okay? Because we're talking about block choosers. But let's probably in test. Okay, A script block looks like this. It's an XML block.
Okay.
Okay. The root element should be scripts, plural.
Okay.
Inside, you can have like singular script multiple times. So if you want to, you can have another script here, for example.
Okay.
This is important, okay? So you can have like one or more script inside a script blocks, scripts block or whatever you call it. Okay, inside a script, there must be a path pointing to a format.
Okay.
And optionally, you can have macro
Okay.
with the macro name and with params, plural.
Oh, okay.
Within params, you can have variable, you can have param. Now remember, we started with variable names versus values.
Right.
Here, variable only store variable names. Param only store values.
Okay. Okay.
So you can call a macro, but you can plug in, okay, the first thing should be a variable name. You plug in the variable name without the dollar sign. The second thing should be a value. Then you plug in the value.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So the scripts in a script block can either use they only can do two things: import and call a macro.
Call a macro.
Okay.
Of course. Well, later on, if you really insist, okay, I can also put another element here, okay?
Right.
Whatever code.
Right.
But
Right.
it's not a macro call, okay? Whatever code you want to execute. Of course I can do that, but I don't see the need of it, okay, right now.
Right. Okay.
Because I mean, I always wrap something into macros. So I can always call a macro to do something.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's all about reusability, all about organization.
Right.
Right.
Less is more.
Yep.
Right.
Now, I can do something like this and then point to the format we saw a moment ago without even like calling any macros. Because, yeah.
So the macro element is optional.
This is optional.
Okay.
But this macro must be defined in this format.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, it won't make sense.
Okay.
If the macro already exists, okay, independently, for example, from the library, of course you don't need this line. But then why bother? The macro is already available. You just call it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
But anyway, the setup is this, okay? You need to give me a path, okay, pointing to a format, and whatever defined in this format can be used like this.
Okay, I follow.
So this is like something you create.
Okay.
It's pointless to use my library this way. That's what I'm trying to say. Because my library is always available already.
Okay. Okay. Oh, right. Right. Right.
So we can do something like this and point to that macro. I don't need to do the demo. I'm just saying, I just need this element containing that path. This line will be like turned into an import statement and evaluate.
Right.
Then that macro will be imported. Once it's imported into that block, well, the content will show up in that block.
That's kind of cool. So this is how you get around having to attach a format to a region.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we haven't come to that part yet.
Okay.
This is the first part.
Right. Yeah. I was going to
So
say.
you can attach, okay, an XML block containing format information so that you can access the format. We don't have the block yet.
Okay.
But remember, I also showed you, okay, inside a data definition block, you can have a field containing velocity code. Right?
Right. Okay.
You can do exactly the same thing. These are alternatives. You can use what I call script block, or you can use a data definition block to contain velocity code. I also try using a text block to contain velocity code.
Right.
A text block, you can just use locator tool to read it. You get the code.
And then evaluate it.
And then you, that's all.
Which do you prefer?
I prefer this approach, using script blocks.
Okay.
The reason being this. Well, you need to see the whole thing first, okay?
Yeah.
Then I'll come back why I prefer this.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me give you the second part. This is the first part, okay? So you can use a block to represent a format. Now, before I turn to instruction block, okay, I want to emphasize one thing, okay? You can have multiple script elements here. So you can have this, okay? And you can plug in another script and another set of macro calls if you want to.
It's pretty powerful.
And you can have multiple macros within, no, not repeating this, but you can have like macro repeated, but call a second macro or a third macro or whatever.
And then
Some of the macros
everything is processed sequentially?
sequentially, yes.
Okay.
So as long as you have this imported, then you can call whatever inside, and then you have a second script, and then you can like import another script, and then you call whatever you need to. Now, I'm trying to get at this point. With one block, you can process that block multiple times.
Oh, I see.
This is instruction block. Okay.
Okay.
Let us move away from script block to an instruction block.
Instruction block.
Okay, that's one in Cascade Common Access. You already have it.
Okay.
So let me bring up the instruction block. It's right here. Instruction block doesn't mean a block containing instruction. It doesn't mean that. Instead, it means there are two parts, the block part and the instruction part.
Oh,
You get it?
okay. Okay.
So an instruction block is not a block containing instructions. Instead, it's a block containing two choosers, one for block, one for instruction.
I see two different types of blocks there, though.
First, a block to be processed. This can be data definition block. It can be index block. It can be any block,
So it's data.
the data.
Okay.
The second part is the instruction, what we saw a moment ago, a script block.
And so it's like a region.
This is a region, but this is different than a region in this way. First, the block chooser can be fine-tuned to be accessible to certain groups or hidden from everybody.
Right.
Second, you can process the block multiple times. Now, what's the point? Let's say you have a very complicated block, okay, a data definition block with a lot of fields inside. I want to bring up the example of persona. You know what persona is, right?
Yeah, that's
Well, basically, when someone like visits your site, you can ask this someone to identify himself or herself, or you can base on like geographical location, some information you picked up from this user. And
Right.
you can like tailor the content according to the identity of this user.
right.
This is called persona.
Okay.
Now, you can actually like tailor the content, okay, of a blog, depending on like who visits the page, okay, with this blog attached to. I'm saying, for example, okay, let me just give you a brief an example. Let's say you are talking about an admission page, for example. Okay, on the admissions page, you can like talk to like parents of students, potential students, or I don't know. You make it up, okay? Different groups of people, that you want to tailor the content,
Right.
okay, depending on who this visitor is.
Right.
Now, you can have a blog containing all the data, but you still want to like generate different divs with different IDs so that you can use PHP code to do the switch.
Okay.
If it is a student, then you display div ID equals student.
Oh,
If it is a parent, then you display, okay, div ID equal parent.
okay.
You don't hide everything using style sheet, okay? You hide it from the server using P3 code.
Okay.
So you basically like create several divs, okay, with different IDs, and then you wrap up each div with P3 code. And of course, okay, you need to have a flag or something to basically like indicate, okay, the identity of this user. Then you pass a flag into like a switchboard. Then you need to decide, okay, which ID is the current one, and then you display that div.
Okay.
Now the problem is this. I mean, you might have common data among different divs. For example, like something more general, like policy, like tuition fee, but something tailored with respect to a student, with respect to a parent. It depends, okay? I'm just saying, in your data definition block, you can have all the data inside, meaning all the data for everybody. But then you need to pick, okay, when you create a div for students, you pick field A, field C. For parents, you pick field B, field F. You pick whatever you need to and create a cohesive, presentable page or section on the page. But then you have one block only. You need to like process it multiple times, producing different data, different divs. How do you do that with one single format? You will need to write a huge format, right?
Right.
But if I want like division of labor, I want modularization, a format just for students, a format just for parents, a format just for administrators, then how do I combine all the formats and process one single block?
Instruction blocks.
Exactly. You cannot do it with a region.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That's the whole point of using instruction blocks. And that's why I prefer this to, for example, including code into a data definition block. Of course, you can do that. But then how do you do the switch? How do you do like multiple passes? Of course, you can like have several fields, okay? One for like students, another field, okay, for parents. But then you put all the code into one single block. There's no reusability.
Right, right.
But if you put the instruction in and like a script block, you can attach this block to different instruction blocks, processing different like data definition blocks or index blocks or whatever. Again, this is about reusability.
Right, right. So the not the instruction block, but the script block provides you the structure.
Yep.
That you
and then you can combine a script block with a whatever block you want to process, most likely like a data definition block or an index block. You can do it just once, so you process it and then produce your content. But you can also like process it multiple times and produce like different chunks of data. And then you decide what to do with those chunks.
Wow, that sounds pretty powerful.
Exactly. I mean, this approach allows you to do that.
That sounds pretty. Now, do you guys use personas?
Use what?
Do you implement personas?
No, not yet. But we've been talking about it, and I've been like thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is called instruction block. Okay, and script block is just like half of it.
Right.
And the other half is like whatever block you want to process. Remember, you can process any block you want. Text blocks, index blocks, whatever. You just need to like point to the right format with the right macro call.
Right.
That's
okay.
all.
Okay.
And I use this, okay, to do the. Remember, we saw a slideshow that can move from the top to the bottom and like different parts of the bottom. I use the instruction block to indicate what to do with it.
Right. Right. I remember. Yeah. Oh, that's how you did that. Okay.
Yep.
Oh.
So if you look at a page again, one of those pages, remember you see these blocks, 6 of them, and then I have like 6 pages corresponding to WD, and then test pages, slideshow, and then for example, okay, inner. If you edit the page, there's the block. Okay, this is the instruction block. Okay, with 2 block choosers, one pointing to a slideshow, our multimedia, you already seen it. This is the format. I need to like turn it back, otherwise I mean something will be wrong. This is bottom inner. Otherwise, I mean, it will be wrong. But if you look at these, okay, the script blocks, okay, this one like points to bottom inner, this one points to bottom outer, this one points to like bottom outmost, this one points to top outer, and this one points to like top inner. Right, and the anywhere one, just like whatever, it points to whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Now, whatever is a value, but block system data structure is a variable name.
Okay.
Set up somewhere else. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's how instruction blocks work.
Wow.
Now, region and choosers, okay? Back to regions and choosers.
Okay.
Because I have instruction blocks, so a chooser can act like a region.
Right.
But how do I do it the other way around? How do I turn a region into a chooser? I promised that, but I didn't like explain and I didn't like say anything about that.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you the answer, okay? How to turn a region into a chooser.
Wait. Before you do that.
What?
Hold on. This is a big deal.
This is a big deal in the sense that if you still want to keep your regions.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm just saying this, okay? Well, I will emphasize this point later, okay, near the end of the presentation, the conclusion part. But I want to say this, okay, now. My model, I call it standard model, okay? My model allows you to keep everything you've been doing. For example, if you want to keep your regions, fine, keep them. Okay?
Right.
This allows you to transition from your model to my model.
So it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
No, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's why I insist, okay, you should create 2 different pages with 2 different content types. You see, okay, the same core can support both.
Right.
And you can keep your regions if you want to. And you can keep them for a while. Unless, okay, you feel comfortable, okay. Okay, now it's time to like migrate from multiple regions to like a 1 region template. Right. But it can take forever. So I allow you to do that. This is not all or nothing. This is like different degrees, okay? First, you can introduce like data definitions so that you can like do it bit by bit. Later on, you can introduce, okay, automatic like macro invocation. Later on, okay, why don't we like do some instruction blocks just to eliminate 1 region?
Right.
Something like that.
Right. So you can progressively
reduce. Exactly. And this can be used to do anything you are doing right now. Of course, I mean, not exactly the same thing. I'm just saying, achieving the same effect with less code, with less number of assets, with everything cleaner.
Right. Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Now, let me talk about how to turn a region into a block chooser.
Okay. Wait.
Okay, let me bring up a block again. It is the global velocity code. A moment ago, we saw this, okay, block chooser, process block chooser. Right. This is just like switchboard code, okay? When you plug in a block, I would like determine, okay, what type of block you are talking about, either using some type information or the name of the block, and then I send it out, okay, to a macro. Right. That's all it does.
Right.
Okay. Now back to these five lines of code. Before I talk about these 5 lines of code, okay, I want to remind you of one thing. When you look at the block chooser, above the root element, the parent is always content, remember?
Yes.
Now, what happens if you plug a block into a region instead? What's the parent of the root content?
I don't know.
The document object. We're
Really?
talking about XML here. Yes, we're talking about XML. If there's a root content element, well, a content root element, for example, a data definition block, an XML block, a feed block, whatnot. If you look at the root element, okay, content root, if you call get parent, and then you print out the class name of that parent, it's document.
Okay. The document, the root of the block being attached, that document?
No. I'm talking about the XML document.
Oh, okay.
In XML, you are talking about the root element when you look at content root, right? But above it, there's a document object floating around.
Oh, really?
Yep. You try it. You pick any page you have with a block inside, with a format inside. You just print out, okay, $ content, okay, lowercase, uppercase R, and then lowercase OOT. You type dot class dot name. Then you print out, okay, the class of the root element. Okay.
That gives you the parent?
No. It's just the class name of the root element.
Oh, okay.
The class name is org.jdom.element with a capital at the letter E.
Mm-hmm.
That's the class name of the element.
Okay.
Okay. But if you do this instead, you say $ content root dot get parent, uppercase P, parentheses, and then followed by dot class dot name.
Oh.
You will see jdom dot document.
Okay.
It exists in all XML documents.
Oh, okay. Why is that important?
Okay, to answer your question, remember when we are dealing with block choosers, we're not dealing with the root element because the root element can be missing in text blocks, for example.
Right.
So we have to deal with the parent.
Okay.
And from the parent, we get the children, right?
Right.
Now, if you plug a block into a region, instead of looking at content root, I look at the content root's parent.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, the punchline is this. I can use processBlockChooser, this macro, to process whatever block in a region.
Using
this macro.
Right. Using the fact that you can look at the parent.
Because you are looking at the parent. From the parent, you can always get down to the child.
Oh, okay. That's
right?
That's a neat trick.
Okay, let me show you a format that is supposed to be plugged into a region. And one format only, okay? Let me show you the format. Should be in, no. Let's see, process region block. This is the format. Just 3 lines of code. This format is supposed to be plugged into a region, okay? Remember, a region at the configuration level. So you never change it.
Okay.
This format for us, okay, there's something I changed, so I need to change it right now because I see it. This is underscore, not dash. I changed it. So I import, okay, that, well, meaning this file, okay? And then I get the content root's parent, meaning the document.
Right.
And I pass the document object to BlockChooser. Remember, whatever passes into BlockChooser is always a parent.
Right. Oh, okay.
Then I look down and look at the first child. If it's system data structure is a data structure block. If it is system index block, then it's an index block. If it is nothing, then it's a text block.
Right. Right.
So this format works for any block attached to a region.
Oh, okay.
As long as I attach this format to a region at the configuration level. Actually, I can attach this format to every region at the configuration level. You can plug in any block you want, okay, in a block in a region at the page level.
Okay.
It will work.
Okay.
Because you always call processBlockChooser.
Oh, that makes sense.
And you only have like one format that works for all the blocks.
Oh, that's convenient.
But then if you look carefully, okay, I treat a region as a block chooser.
Look carefully where?
Look
Here?
at the macro name.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I use the same macro to process whatever blocks appearing, whatever, wherever.
Okay. Okay.
It can be a block chooser. It can be a region. I don't care.
Oh, okay. So that's what allows you. So you can use this code with a page with multiple regions or with.
Exactly. As long as you use my code, as long as you follow all the rules, you attach this format to all the regions, it will work. I promise you.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. Wow. I didn't realize
You never
that.
change the format. You never like switch from one format to another format. You just attach it at the configuration level and you never override it.
Right.
It'll
Right.
work.
Oh, okay. So does this have to be attached to a region, or does
This is the format.
right? Does it is there a format that has to be attached to every page, no matter what? Or it doesn't matter?
Something like this. Yeah, this can be attached to every page. If you don't use it, it won't do anything. Remember?
Right. Right.
For example,
right.
if you don't attach a block to a region, it won't do anything
Right. Right.
because
right.
content root will be undefined.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But if you attach, okay, well, of course, if you insist, okay, you can write more code, okay? If content root, then do this, okay? You can test, of course, okay? But I'm too lazy because I don't use regions, remember? I'm lazy, okay? But you can do more. You can test content root. If content root is defined, okay, it's not now, then do this. Of course you can do that.
Okay. Okay.
What I'm trying to get at is this, okay? A block chooser can become a region, and a region can become a block chooser.
I see that now.
That's how you can blur the line, okay, between the two. And how you like can migrate from like multiple regions to a single region template.
Okay. Gotcha.
You can do it like gradually by like, okay, first you need to like replace all the formats, okay, using this format, and then you have to set it up properly, okay. I can talk about how to use my model, okay, with more details. But right now, I just want to like finish the instruction block part and region part.
Okay.
So to sum up, okay, what we saw, you can have like settings, okay, in the data definition block, allowing people to like select quote unquote region.
Okay.
So you can move a slideshow around, for example, using radio buttons.
Right.
You can use XML blocks, meaning script blocks, okay, and allowing like people to change the parameter and then like move the slideshow around. The same mechanism, just different means.
Oh, okay.
And then you see, okay, processBlockChooser, this macro, can deal with any blocks anywhere, including regions.
Okay.
And you have seen, okay, a block containing two choosers, meaning the instruction block, okay. One, a block to be processed, another, okay, pointing to some format or formats.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you can eliminate all the regions except default by using instruction blocks.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because I mean, even if you keep a region, you still call processBlockChooser.
Right.
In a block chooser, you call processBlockChooser. right?
Yeah, I see that. So there's a, it's like a iterative, or not, maybe like a recursive nature.
Now, the fun part is this, okay? You can actually plug an instruction block into a region, though unnecessarily, okay? You can do that if you want to. Because, okay, an instruction block attached to a region will invoke processBlockChooser. It's no different than like an instruction block plugged into like a chooser.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's like duplicating things like a region in a region.
Right.
Unnecessarily, okay? But you can do that if you want to.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. That's really flexible.
Yeah.
That's really flexible.
Okay. The last part. This part is the difficult part, but this part I want to emphasize right at the beginning. This is not necessary, okay? So my model doesn't depend on it. But why do I introduce this part? This part helps me to cut down my code tremendously. That's the whole point.
Which section are you in now?
12.
12, okay. Code templates and generating macros.
You can actually write code to generate macros and then invoke them.
Okay.
So you can write just a few lines of code and generate hundreds of lines of code.
Okay, explain.
Do you see the point? The point is you can cut down your code amount tremendously.
Yes, okay. Okay.
Okay, let me start with something simple. Okay, let us do it like slowly. Just want to make sure you follow me, okay? I want to explain two terms first. One is called dispatching macro. The other is called macro aliases. Let me start with macro aliases first. This is easy to understand.
Okay.
Remember we have, for example, sitemaps. So a sitemap is generated by an index block, okay, and then you use a format to process the index block to create links and or XML, whatever, okay. I'm just saying, okay, an index block and then processed by a format. Okay.
Okay.
Do you follow?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. Now, in my system, when you plug an index block into a chooser, okay, where you want to generate the sitemap, well, you can like call it sitemap index, for example, okay, like site-map-index. And then the macro named, okay, will be process sitemap index, right?
Okay.
Now, assuming, okay, this is like how your university works, okay, with respect to index blocks. You insist, okay, somehow, okay, there's a policy. All the index blocks creating sitemap, okay, sitemaps, should be grouped into one folder.
Okay.
So you can locate all they used to generate sitemaps in different sites.
Okay.
Well, unless you still like want to like put each individual block into like each individual folder, okay, unless you do that, you put all the blocks into one single folder. Then every block must have a unique name, right?
Okay. Right.
For example, you can have like medicine sitemap index, cascade admin sitemap index, whatever site. They must have different names.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Another scenario, you might have several sitemaps in a single site. Well, actually in my site, okay, because my site is huge, so I have a sitemap for just the web service part. I can have another sitemap in like in the format part. I have another sitemap in the upstate implementation part. I can have like several sitemaps, okay, in a single site.
Okay.
Then these sitemap index blocks must exist somewhere. And normally they'll have different names, right? Otherwise, I mean, how do I tell which is which?
Right, right, right.
So now I have a whole bunch of blocks, okay, index blocks with different names, but they all do the same thing.
Right.
Do you see the problem?
No.
How do you write velocity code so that each block is processed properly?
I'm not sure.
Well, of course, okay, you can write a macro, okay, macro, I'm making things up, okay, process,
Process sitemap.
medicine, site map index, okay, and then you have the system index block, okay, and then you have like n macro, and then you write the code here, okay, to process the medicine site map, and then you have another block of code, okay, another macro, process cascade admin, for example, okay.
Okay.
And you just repeat the code 100 times. Is it a smart move?
Doesn't seem too efficient.
Okay, why don't we do this instead, okay? Okay, instead of this, okay, I will write another macro, okay? I'll call it create sitemap, okay, instead of process, okay? So it will tell it apart from the others. So create sitemap. I write the real code here, okay? So the code is actually here. Code here, okay? And up here, instead of writing the code, I'll just call this macro.
Right.
And then I plug in the parameter so that it can be processed. But still, do you see this line is repeated probably 100 times or like 200 times, depending on how many blocks you have?
Yes, yes.
Is there a way to shorten this so that you don't have to like repeat this block a few hundred times?
I'm guessing using aliases.
Well, these are aliases.
Oh,
I'm saying this name is just an alias of this name.
right, right. Yeah.
So these are aliases.
So how would you do that? How would you make that more efficient?
Exactly. That's the question to ask. How do I eliminate all those macros? Well, by generating them.
Okay.
But how?
How do you generate? Oh, well, you can evaluate.
Yes. Okay. I'll push this down because this must stay there. Okay. This one cannot be generated because it contains code inside.
Okay.
Okay. There's no pattern here, but we see pattern here, right? What's the pattern?
The pound sign macro parentheses.
That's the constant part. Yeah.
And then, well, I guess the pattern is that you're calling create sitemap with the parameter passed.
Yep. What is changing? Let's say if you have like 100 blocks of code like this, okay, what do you expect to change in the third block?
Okay, the name of the macro.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's the only thing that changes, right?
Right, right.
Now, let us do this. Instead of writing things like this, okay, let me just like change this to this. This is called a code template.
Okay.
A code template is actually velocity code with what I call placeholders.
Right.
A placeholder is something that you need to like replace with a real value when you call evaluate.
Right, right, right.
But remember, This is not velocity code. It looks like velocity code, but it is not. It is a string.
It's not velocity code? No,
If you
because
type this into velocity format, it will complain, what is that dash macro dash name?
right.
It's turned into a string.
Okay.
This part is a string for velocity.
Okay.
But then it will try to evaluate this part. And it will try to evaluate this part. Remember, in velocity, everything is code unless it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Then it will complain, okay, what is going on?
Right.
So you cannot put this into a format. Then where should we put it?
Maybe a code block?
I put it in an XML block.
XML block.
I'll give you the reason later, okay?
Okay.
But remember, if you put this into an XML block or a text block or whatever, it's just a string,
Okay.
right? Now, how do you use it? Well, remember, a moment ago, okay, let me just like turn it back, okay? A moment ago, we saw something like this. So I would have like a dash. I use dash for like placeholders, okay? But it doesn't have to be. I just like happen to pick dash.
Okay.
Macro name. Remember, I need to use this as a string to replace this when I call evaluate, right?
Right.
So let's say I have a way to read this, okay, from a block. It's a string, remember, it's a string. So let me call it like statement. This statement, okay, actually stores this from a block.
Okay.
Then I need to call, okay, replace all. Okay, what I want to replace
Macro name.
and the real value I want to use, okay, for example, macro name.
You're missing a
Okay,
dash.
this is a variable,
Yeah.
okay? Notice this is a string, so I use replace all.
Okay.
I left out the dash. There must be two. This will turn the template into real velocity code.
Okay.
And then I call evaluate.
Oh, okay. This is kind of like the Matrix where you have code writing code.
Actually, I have code writing code, well, code generating code to generate code. I have like 3 layers.
Oh, man.
I can go to the 4th if I want to, but it's getting too complicated now.
Yeah.
Now, this can be stored in a list. I'm saying this, okay? I can do something like this. So macro plural, okay, names. Assign something, okay? Of course, I have to use set, okay? Set macro names, okay? Assign a list. And then I plug in these names. Okay, then I just like put these names in. And I use a for each loop, okay? And then replace, okay, this macro name placeholder using real values from this list. And then I generate a statement, and then I evaluate.
Okay.
So instead of these, okay, I have a code template read from somewhere, one single template, and a list. I'm done.
So just to clarify, in this example, line 10, I think.
Okay.
The last parameter would be names with an S, right?
Macros, sure. Not macro.
Macro names, right?
So I need a for each loop here.
Okay, okay.
I missed that, okay? Well, I didn't type it out, but I mentioned it.
I see.
So for each macro names, in macro names, okay, do this. So statement is this, and then evaluate. Because I was about to show you the real code. That's why I didn't finish it.
Gotcha.
Basically, it looks like this. So the next time when you have another alias, you add another name here. That's all. You don't have to do anything else.
Oh, wow, that's
You
cool.
keep adding names. Well, if you like sort them alphabetically, then you will know, okay, like what is missing.
Wow, that's
So
powerful.
you can have a list of like 200 names, one block, one code template, and for each loop. Then you're done. The next
Okay.
time you have a new alias, you add the name to this list. That's it.
Wow. So a list is an array, basically, right?
A list is what?
Is an array?
It's called array list in Java.
Oh, okay, different type.
It's a list
Yeah. Okay.
that looks like an array.
Okay.
Okay, now let me show you some real code, okay? Then you appreciate what is going on. In common assets, okay? So you have the code. So I want to like pull up something from, it will look different because I keep modifying things, okay? So let me just go to the block first and the code block. This global velocity code stores all the code templates and also like real macros like process block chooser, process data definition block, and so on and so forth. These are not templates. These are real code, okay? Real
Okay.
macros. I just store them there so that I can use like, but code templates, okay? For example, single group like this one. Single group, remember, I'm talking about a macro processing a group in a single functional block.
Okay. Okay.
So here I just need to calculate the group name and call invoke.
Say that again. All you need to do is.
All I need, I'm talking about the end product of this template. Okay, what is supposed to be generated is a macro calculating the group name and then call invoke, right?
Okay.
But then the variable is just the macro name and whatever group name you're processing.
That's crazy.
Now let me show you how it's used. Okay. So remember we created something like Costa Rica. Let's say, okay, it's just a single functional block.
Wing, where did you get these ideas?
I invent them.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. I did. I invent them. Okay. I invented them and I'm still inventing them.
Man.
Okay. Process block. You have seen everything. For example, this one. This is like a list of single group, single functional blocks. Okay. So WYSIWYG, instruction block. Okay, these two are in production. These three I added just last night to do something crazy.
Okay.
And then multi-functional, I have like process designer block, pro block, and then make a block, and then multimedia, and then news block. I just keep adding names to these lists, and I'm done with respect to what macro to invoke. But then, of course, I need to write those macros. Of course, I have to. So they are all here, okay? Well, you cannot like be that lazy. You still need to write. That's not generated, okay? For example, how do you generate code to do a slideshow? It's your business, okay? Because it includes, okay, proprietary data and your business logic.
Sure.
So that part I cannot deal with. You still need to like write macros, okay, to like process those groups. But remember, these macros only process groups, and they can be reused whenever you like are dealing with this type of this group.
Right.
But the group name is already calculated from whatever up there. These are just like sitting there waiting to be invoked.
Okay.
So when you add a new, for example, a new data definition block type, for example, okay? So you first come up with a type information. I'm talking about like a single functional data definition block, like Costa Rica, okay?
You're
So
talking about data definition field
data definition block.
for a layout element.
No, I'm talking about a block to be used to contain data and plugged into a block chooser or
Oh,
a
okay.
region for that matter.
Right.
So Costa Rica, okay, you have a block type Costa dash Rica.
Right.
When you create that data definition and that definition block, the macro process Costa Rica will be invoked, but it doesn't see Costa Rica group yet. You have to add Costa Rica process because it's single, okay, single functional. So you need to come back here and add the name Costa Rica somewhere here in the list.
Okay.
It's a single group name, okay?
Okay.
So when you add Costa Rica, okay, Costa dash Rica, matching exactly the site, the type information, then the generated macro, okay, will figure out, okay, I have to call process Costa Rica group to process that block.
That's the macro. That's the macro.
The
you have to
macro
write
generated.
yourself.
The macro,
Right.
yep. So you start with the type Costa Rica, and it's
Okay.
singular, single like functional.
Right.
So you plug in Costa Rica in this list. The generated macro will figure out, okay, I have to call process Costa Rica, and then you should write a process Costa Rica group in this file. Then everything else in the middle is taken care of.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So I'm saying you create a data definition, you create a block, and you plug the type information into that list. Then you come here to write the process Costa Rica group macro.
Right.
You're done.
Wow. And what does that what does that do?
Well,
Those
your
things.
Costa Rica is a block that you created. I don't know what it does.
It's a block you
let's say,
created.
let's say,
Oh,
let's
you
say,
mean,
let's say, okay, let's just pretend, okay, for the moment.
Okay.
Your Costa Rica is actually a data definition block used to generate a slideshow. And you plan to like plug in like photos of like Costa Rica. Let's
Okay,
say.
and it might have JavaScript or
You can have anything you want.
image tags.
Yep. Now, you create a data definition called Costa Rica, and then you create a block with like image choosers, with all text like field, JavaScript field, whatever. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And then you plug it in.
Okay.
You add the name Costa dash Rica to that list, to this list. Okay. Step 1, creating definition, creating block. Step 2, add the name here, Costa Rica.
Okay.
Step 3, go to the library, go to the group, and add the process Costa Rica group code here, and you're done.
So that last step, that kind of replaces where you would normally create a format.
That's the format you're going to write, but you are actually writing a macro, so you don't process the entire block, because that is already like processed by processBlockChooser.
Right.
So you need to like look at the type, look at whether you want to display, and then look at the single group you want to process, and the group will be passed to your macro you are going to write here.
Right.
This will be given to you, the group to be processed.
So all of the all of the naming conventions that you have to, like where you say you have to match the name Costa Rica.
Exactly.
That mechanism allows your code to recognize which of these macros, which is like formats, to match which region it's matched to.
Well, remember, I just want to point out one important thing. I'm talking about data definition block here. Index blocks and so on and so forth are processed elsewhere.
Okay.
This is about data definition blocks.
Okay. Okay.
That's why it's called DD group.
Fair
But
enough.
what about like index blocks? Well, I have already given you the answer. If you are talking about a single index block doing something unique, well, the name of the index block will be turned into a macro name. You know, you
So for
write code
example,
there,
let's say you're building left navigation. So
whatever. Well, actually, left navigation, I don't do any block. It's generated in default.
it's generated where?
In default.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let's say I'm trying to think of something that would use an index block.
Let's say a news site. You have or a news folder. Okay, you have articles inside. You want to index everything. You
Okay.
want to like display like teaser, thumbnails, things like that.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so you have a block, let's say called medicine news story index. Okay, now
Okay.
you have a macro called process medicine news story index, and you write the code there.
Right.
But let me remind you, if you have multiple sites having exactly the same setup with the same index block types and then like doing like teaser, thumbnails and so on and so forth in the same way, then you should have a macro like sitemap, process news stories, whatever. And then you create aliases all pointing to that macro.
Oh, right.
Then you write a code template to generate all the code.
So, question.
Yep.
All of the features, the new features with the locator tool and the query tool that allow you to create smaller index blocks and do more smart velocity formatting, all of those features should still be available, right?
They are always available. I'm not eliminating anything. I'm just adding a lot.
Yeah. This doesn't this doesn't reduce that at all.
Nope. They are always there.
You can still use the locator tool to
Sure.
process an index block, you know, that you attached from a block chooser.
Yep.
With this system.
Yep. Well, I'm not eliminating anything. They are always available. Well, let me just like step back and then give you the larger picture, okay?
Okay.
What I'm offering you is this. I cut out your proprietary data. I cut out your business logic. Okay, I cut out everything only like belonging to your organization. What's remaining is the core, what I call the core. That is applicable to everybody. And then I write code to deal with this core, to process index blocks in general, to process like names, to invoke macros and so on and so forth. Everything is automatic in the sense that because I don't need to worry about proprietary data, I don't need to worry about business logic. So I can do the whole thing for you. But down to like once you start looking at your business logic, your data, it's your business.
Right.
I have no say in it. What does it mean?
It's fanfare. It's like hooray,
Okay.
hooray.
Okay.
I see.
So let me just like talk about how to use this thing, okay? The site I sent you. You need to like come up with a design first, okay? It's always the first thing you need to come up with. I'm talking about either a responsive design or a non-responsive design. Doesn't matter. You need to come up with a design first. And then with the design, you need to like craft your template. You can like jump right into the one region template, or you can keep a few regions. Then you need to craft your template accordingly, okay? If you have the template in place, then you use that template to replace my template. Everything else should work. Well, anything related to a template, you need to change. For example, the configuration set, the content type, you need to change them, of course. But that's it. Of course, you need to like supply me a style sheet, okay, like what you did, okay. You need to have a style sheet to go with that template.
Right.
You also need to define a whole bunch of like high show elements because that's your logic. I don't know it. I use mine. But you need to like come up with a whole bunch of like whatever you want to hide, whatever you want to show, and build them into your template.
Right. Okay.
But everything else is taken care of. Once you replace the template, you replace your default format because you need the format, okay, to process your default, your data definition for page. Okay, and then you need to deal with like site configuration, how you want to deal with like logo, site title, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you need to deal with that. That's your business.
Okay.
But once that's done, everything else is taken care of. So if you plug a block into a block chooser, as long as you call processBlockChooser, the whole process will kick in.
Right. Right.
Of course, you also need to like create your own list, okay, of like whatever you need to process. I'm talking about this list or these lists.
Right.
So you need to like supply me the names of like whatever types you want to create. For example, Costa Rica, whatnot. That's business logic and your proprietary data. I have no idea what you want to use.
That's essentially the region replacement logic.
Not exactly. This is used to calculate macro names.
Oh, okay.
Generate macros.
But macros that correspond to regions, or not to quote regions, not to dynamic regions.
However you put it, not necessarily, because I mean you can ignore region altogether. You can have a block chooser displayed in place. You can have something like that if you don't use high show.
Oh, okay.
Region is related to high show.
Oh, okay.
If you don't use high show, it will be displayed in place, wherever you define that chooser.
Huh. Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is this. You replace the template, you replace the content type and the configuration set, you replace your template format, I mean template level format with like high show elements, you replace your CSS, you replace your default format, you have to come up with a format to process the default. And you deal with the site configuration. Everything else is taken care of already.
Okay. Okay. What
let's say
what section are you?
1 year or 2 years from now, I need to like redesign our websites, and then I need to like do things like I don't know. But remember, because I'm using my own setup, very unlikely I need to change my data definition.
Right.
Very unlikely.
Right.
So let's pretend for a second, I don't change my data definition at all. Okay, let's say I don't change it at all.
Okay.
Then I don't need to touch the configuration set. I don't need to touch the content type.
Right.
I just need to unplug the template from the configuration set. Well, the configuration of the configuration set. Unplug the template and plug in a new template and replace the style sheet. And I'm done.
Right. Right.
Because, okay, the configuration set already works. The content type already works with the unchanged data definition.
However, that only works because you only have the one default region.
Exactly. Because I don't have to deal with other regions.
Right.
Everything, when I move from one design to another design, as long as I keep all the identifiers, they will be kept in place.
Right. So
I don't even need to like deal with like phantom nodes. I don't need to do anything like that. Of course, I have web services to help me. If I create a new field, there are phantom nodes, there are phantom values, and so on and so forth. Of course, I need to deal with them, provided I need to change the data definition. But if I keep it to the minimum, then my workload is kept to the minimum. I mean, I can like switch the design in 2 days.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Wow. And
That's the whole point of it.
And wow, that's pretty powerful.
Well, let me like address the last part. Okay, I want to talk about like what exactly is going on at a very high level. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just offering you this. I'm offering you a way of using Cascade. If you do things like what I recommended, okay, for example, plan your data definition like carefully, pay attention to the names, uh, try to like avoid using too many regions. Well, actually, I started this years ago. Even when I started using Cascade, I don't allow users to use regions. Regions are reserved for our team
Okay.
and for like site configuration and so on and so forth. They are always restricted to use like block choosers. Of course, you have to make it work. Okay, block choosers must work. Otherwise, I mean, how do they do what they want to do?
Right. Right.
But then, because they don't know regions at all, they don't know anything. When I shift from one paradigm to another paradigm, they never know.
Hmm. They don't
I've been like
notice.
converting my site, okay, from non-responsive to responsive version 1, and from 1 to 2.1, from 2.1 to 2.2 now. They never know anything.
And so you've been using the same data definition?
Basically, yes,
Basically,
with a
yeah.
few minor changes here and there, okay, adding a few notes. That's why I still have phantom notes, okay, to deal with. But that's my business. They don't know that.
Right.
Those notes are even hidden from them. They don't see them.
And because you never have to change content types, having phantom nodes isn't a problem.
Well, with the one region template, I don't have to change content type. But with like one paradigm, you have multiple regions to a one template, like a one region template, you have to change your content type
Right.
because everything else is still in use.
Right. 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 Okay.
But once you end up in the one region template, then the next time you just need to unswitch, well, to switch the template. That's all.
I see. Okay. That's
So
pretty
I'm
powerful.
providing you a way of like looking at Cascade differently. So, well, in this like from this point of view, okay, first you can do everything with one region, but actually that's the ultimate goal. Okay, you don't have to go there right away. But I'm trying to bring in like different things. First, you need to like do data definition in a certain way. You need to deal with names in a certain way. Try not to introduce like phantom nodes. Okay. And then you need to like, okay, consider whether you want to use script blocks, whether you want to use instruction blocks, whether you want to use whatnot. I don't know.
Right.
And then you decide. My model allows you to do like different combinations, different degrees of like cleanliness or dirtiness. I don't care. You decide. It allows you to do anything you want.
Right. Okay.
If you want to mix in your own macros, you want to like mess up the entire like name computation mechanism, fine, you deal with it. My system is set up like to deal with this. If you don't use it, fine, it won't get into the way, but you need to like come up with some other ways to deal with it.
How far back, like version wise, does this support for Cascade?
I don't think it's related to any version because I don't rely on versions.
So
It's just
evaluate,
general velocity.
evaluate. So as long as
The
you have,
value is always there
so as
since
long
the
as,
very beginning.
oh really?
Yep. Because it's in the older version of like Apache Velocity, long before Cascade like even like came into like being. So don't worry about evaluate.
Okay.
It's been there always.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm just like offering you a way of doing things, but you pick and choose. Okay. Well, I want to be careful about data definition, but I don't want to jump into like automatic macro invocations just yet. I might want to introduce a script block here, a script block there, but I don't want to jump into like instruction block yet. I still
Right.
want to like stick with regions, but well, I can like sneak in an instruction block here to replace one single region.
Right.
You can do things like that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yep. That's what I meant, okay, in my agenda. I allow you to keep old and new ways of doing things side by side.
Gotcha.
And you can do the gradual like transition from, well, by degrees, okay, different degrees, okay. I do it like one bit at a time so that no one will notice.
Yes, you're right. Gradual. I had a question, now I forgot it.
Yep.
No, yeah, that's
Well,
pretty
while
cool.
you are thinking, I will keep talking about the conclusion part. Now, I claim, okay, this is actually the best way of using Cascade in a few, well, I'll give you the reasons. First, this implementation can be reused by anyone. Reuse in the sense that if you take out the upstate business logic, if you take out the upstate proprietary data, of course I have to use like these, okay, in my model because this is real, okay, this is like in production.
Yeah, right.
When you get it, you take out, well, if you pay attention to the names of those formats, I did it like intentionally. Whenever you see, I'm talking about common assets, okay? If you look at the velocity library in common assets, whenever you see Chan W prefix, it's good for anyone. If you see upstate dash something, that's for us only.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at like process block, process region block, and so on and so forth. It depends on whether you want to stick with the naming conventions, whether you stick with the rules and so on. If you stick with that, it's also reusable. The RWD template, of course, you need to write your own one, okay, because it's our business logic. I cannot like provide one for you. But if you look at it this way, then basically you take out whatever, okay, containing upstate logic, upstate data. The remaining part is all yours.
Hmm.
You need to fill the blanks, okay? Whatever template you need to use, whatever format you need to like use to process the default region, you need to fill in the blanks. But the whole thing, okay, everything else will work as is. And you don't maintain that part. I do.
Hmm.
So I'm saying, I'm offering you a site with everything already implemented. You need to identify, okay, what I can reuse, what I cannot, or what I need to replace. But everything else, as long as you follow the rules, okay, everything else will work automatically.
Gotcha. So,
And yeah, your question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I want to insist, okay, on one thing. My implementation is so small that no one else can do exactly the same thing again, unless you just use my way of doing things. Remember, I sent you a web service script with data.
Yes.
You run the web service script, you generate this whole site.
Right. I remember.
You ask someone else, okay, to do exactly the same thing and see how many lines of code they need to do exactly the same thing. I'm talking about two parts. You need web service, okay, to do that. But also you need a site already implemented, okay? Did you check the size of the file I sent you? 60 something K.
Wow.
This whole thing includes everything in this site.
In 60K?
Yep.
Wow.
If you export this site, okay, because you export it, okay, a lot of things are added to this site. It's about 200 something K, but that's like Cascade export, okay? But if you are talking about web service code, it's 60 something K. And actually this morning, I came up with another crazy idea. Remember when you like run the script, okay, to create your version of common assets, you still need to read the data. The data like folder comes with the zip file I gave you, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
What happens when I upgrade my library? For example, if I change something in the core region,
right?
The only way to do it for you again now is not deleting the site and then like regenerate the site. Not that, because I mean, once you put it into use, you cannot delete it.
Right. It's
Everything's hooked up already.
Right.
So you need a way to upgrade your core without deleting it.
Right.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
Well, one way to do it is this, okay? I give you another data folder with all the new data inside. If I change the program, I have to give you the program, but without like deleting anything. You run the program again,
Oh,
then
I see.
everything will be updated.
Right.
But I have an idea. If I can turn, for example, an XML block into a page, an XML page, then I can change my script not to read the data file, okay, in a certain file, okay, whatever .xml. Instead, you go online, go to Upstate, blah, 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 read that page. That's an XML file. You read the content. You use that content and upgrade your site.
Wow. That'd be pretty neat if, yeah. So in other
But,
words,
but then I need to turn everything into XML
oh, I see.
because I can only like deal with XML. For example, how do I like publish velocity code on my site and read it as velocity code and put it back into a format? I don't know yet.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe using web services.
I have to use, but the problem is this: in our setup, okay, our server is actually sitting behind the firewall. You
Oh,
cannot
okay.
access it from the outside. That's why I have to publish pages instead. If I can access our Cascade server from the outside, then everything is solved. But it's not.
You can't access your Cascade server like even through a VPN.
I can, but you cannot.
Oh, right. Yes, sure.
I can. So for you to upgrade your version of like Common Access, you cannot access Cascade directly, our Cascade. You have to access our web server, read some page, and read the content of that page. Well, suppose that page is an XML file. Okay, you read it, you process it, and then you dump the content into your format, your blog, or whatever. But I need to like figure out a way, okay, turning everything into XML so that you don't need the data folder anymore.
Right.
But I think it's relatively easy, I would say. I just need to write my script carefully. So when I read something, I need to get rid of the root element and keep the content, things like that, or just read everything and dump everything into an XML block. I don't think it's difficult because
Yeah,
this idea came to me just this morning.
it's an interesting idea. It sounds like you've kind of laid the groundwork for doing something like that with the code blocks and stuff like that.
Yep. Of course I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
So back to the conclusion, okay? I want to insist, okay? My implementation is very small. So small that no one can duplicate unless you do things in my way. You can never duplicate,
Right.
okay? Unless you do, for example, code template.
Right.
Do you know how much like code I save by using that?
I can only imagine.
If you follow my rules, okay, then you are basically producing a slight variant of my model. If you want to like, okay, do it like from scratch, don't use anything from Wing, okay? Well, you try it,
Okay.
okay? So my implementation is extremely small, so small that I can create everything using a web service program. You try it. I can actually ask, okay, can anyone even in Hannon Hill can do that?
Right. Yeah, I doubt it. Not
Well,
unless the rules of Cascade change in the next.
but then it changes everything, okay? I have to like change accordingly. The second thing is, I mean, my model comes with a web service library, and you know how powerful it is.
Mhm.
Now I tie the two together and do things, okay, using web services. If you want to like produce something like close to mine, do you want to produce another web service library? I doubt it.
No.
Now, I just want to like wrap everything up, okay? I call it the standard model because of the following reasons, okay? Well, I set up a new standard for you to evaluate other designs. Well, you compare the size, you compare the cleanliness, okay? You compare the powerfulness, okay, of your new design. If you can come up with a second thing, okay, to compete with mine, I would say I set a new standard against which you can evaluate other designs. If you can come even close to mine, I will salute you.
Okay.
It's a model because, okay, in the sense of like a model home, okay, it's both a blueprint and a real thing. Blueprint meaning I have already given you the design, the architecture. So data definition, script block, instruction block, code template, how to use them. This is about design. I give you the design, but I also give you the implementation. Everything is implemented.
Right.
You modify, okay? But if you stick with my rules, okay, then this model is actually real in the sense that you can use it right away.
I see.
Okay, with the core. So I also like give you the velocity library. Most of the code is reusable, including code template and so on and so forth. I'm saying it's the best because it's so small, it's so clean, and it cannot be duplicated.
Okay. Those are good reasons.
You have already seen, okay, for example, I got rid of all the regions, okay? You see the reasons why.
Yeah.
I use only block choosers. I mix up, okay, block choosers with regions. I mix up formats with blocks. I
Right.
know.
It's very flexible.
Everything is so flexible now. I couldn't believe, okay, the power of this, okay, because whenever I came up with some idea, I would always ask myself, can I do this? And suddenly I realized, okay, it's so easy to do because everything is already built into the system, allowing me to do so many different crazy things already.
Right. Yeah.
So, for example, just to pick up an idea, okay, I showed you right at the beginning, around like 11 o'clock, and then we'll stop here, okay? I just want to like pick it up again. This is actually an alternative way of like doing the instruction block. You saw that. So we can have like a data definition block with, I don't know, with data definition fields and so on and so forth, plus the code inside. You can, of course, okay, do something like this. Okay, of course you can do something like this. But the reason why I don't like this one, because it's not flexible and it's not reusable. The
This
code
is,
is hard coded into the block.
oh, okay. Okay. This is a data definition block.
Yep, containing format information.
Okay.
Of course, it will work for this block.
Right.
But then if I want to reuse the velocity code, I have to copy and paste. I mean, no. I want to use a script block. The script block can be attached to any instruction block.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
And it allows you like to do multiple passes.
Right. That's true. Right. Right. So,
Okay, the last part, okay, the last part of my agenda is, okay, if you really want to like compete with me, it's very welcome. But I gave you a list, okay, of things you need to do in order to compete with me. Preferably a web service library, but that's not mandatory.
right.
But I really want to see a program to generate the master site.
Right.
And I'm working on like how to upgrade the master site now.
I mean, the the alternative would be, for somebody to just, for you to tell somebody, okay, you have to edit this code, this velocity script here, or something like that.
Well, I want to like see anyone, what people will say about this, okay? I'm really claiming, okay, this is the best.
Right, right. Okay. I think,
And
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I just want to say one more thing. That's one thing important, okay? I've been saying this a few times now. You have to allow people to do things in the old way. You have to allow that. Okay, your turn.
No, so where did you leave off on the agenda?
Well, the agenda is, I mean, basically finished. But
So
finished.
you were on 20?
Well, I talked about everything. Yeah, the last part was the conclusion part. Yep, I talked about standard, I talked about model, and what alternatives should look like.
Yeah. Okay, okay. And then did you talk about extendable?
Well, extendable in the sense that it allows you to do things in the old way.
Oh, I see what you
That's
mean.
the most important part. Well, I am still extending it. If you see it, I'm still adding ideas to it.
Yeah, no. It's I think I have a better understanding for it now
Mhm.
of it. Um,
But it takes time. I know because I've done a ton of information on you. Okay,
right, right.
it will take at least a few weeks to really like understand everything.
That's why
And
we
you need to sit
recorded
down and
it.
write some code.
Say that again?
You need to sit down, write some code, and play with it
Right, right. Just like web
and see
services.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. So can I stop recording now?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Then we can chat.